only to find himself face to face with the most hostile interviewer on daytime television. What you're about to witness is the moment Joy Behar's trademark arrogance finally met its match, and the explosive confrontation that followed will leave you speechless. This is the interview that ended with Joy Behar storming off her own show, but the build-up to that moment is even more shocking than you think. Make sure to hit that subscribe button and drop a comment below because you won't believe how this unfolds. The View's studio buzzed with its usual pre-show energy as Adam Sandler settled into the guest chair, his familiar, easy smile warming the room. The audience seemed genuinely excited to see the comedy icon, their applause enthusiastic and genuine. But as the cameras rolled and the red recording light flickered on, something in Joy Behar's demeanor immediately set a different tone. "So Adam," Joy began, her voice carrying that sharp edge viewers knew all too well, "I have to ask about your latest movie. I mean, really? Another juvenile comedy? At your age, don't you think it's time to grow up and make something with actual substance?" Adam's smile faltered slightly, but he maintained his composure. "Well, Joy, I make movies that make people laugh. I think in times like these, people need something to smile about. You know? Comedy has always been about bringing joy to folks who might be having a tough day." "Joy to folks," Joy repeated mockingly, emphasizing his choice of words. "That's interesting, coming from someone whose idea of humor is fart jokes and putting on funny voices. I mean, when was the last time you made a movie that actually said something meaningful about the world we live in?" The other hosts shifted uncomfortably in their seats. Whoopi tried to interject with a diplomatic comment, but Joy bulldozed right over her. "No, I'm serious," Joy continued, her voice rising slightly. "We have real problems in this country, Adam. Climate change, political division, social justice issues, and here you are making millions off the most basic, lowest common denominator entertainment. Don't you feel any responsibility to use your platform for something more important?" Adam took a measured breath, his famous laid-back demeanor still intact but showing the first signs of strain. "Look, Joy, I understand you have strong feelings about this, but I think you're selling both comedy and audiences short. When a kid laughs at one of my movies, when a parent gets to forget their stress for an hour and laugh with their family, that matters. That's meaningful." "Oh, please," Joy scoffed, actually rolling her eyes on camera. "That's just Hollywood spin. You're making mindless content that dumbs down society. Kids should be learning about important issues, not wasting their time on your infantile humor." The tension in the studio was becoming palpable. Even the production crew behind the cameras looked uncomfortable as Joy's attack continued relentlessly. "And another thing." Joy pressed on, clearly warming up rather than winding down. "Your movies consistently portray women as objects or one-dimensional characters. How do you justify perpetuating these harmful stereotypes in an era where women are fighting for equal representation?" Adam's jaw tightened almost imperceptibly. "Joy, with respect, I think you're mischaracterizing my work. I've worked with incredibly talented female comedians and actors. Many of my movies have strong female characters, and I've always tried to create roles that showcase women's comedic talents. Name one?" Joy shot back immediately, leaning forward aggressively. "Name one movie where the woman isn't either the nagging wife, the unattainable love interest, or the butt of the joke." "Well, in Grown Ups, Maria Bello and Salma Hayek both had substantial roles where they were equal partners to their husbands in the story. In Billy Madison, Bridget Wilson's character was intelligent and independent. In Happy Gilmore, Julie Bowen played a successful professional who wasn't defined by her relationship with my character." Joy waved dismissively. "Those are supporting roles at best. Token characters to make your movies seem less sexist than they actually are. You're part of the problem, Adam. You have influence, you have money, you have power, and what do you do with it? You make movies about golf and football and man-children who refuse to grow up." The audience was beginning to murmur, some clearly uncomfortable with Joy's increasingly hostile tone. Adam glanced briefly at the other hosts, perhaps hoping for some intervention, but they seemed frozen by the intensity of Joy's attack. "I think," Adam said carefully, "that entertainment and activism can coexist without one invalidating the other. My job is to entertain people, and I take that seriously. But that doesn't mean I don't care about important issues or that I'm somehow damaging society by making people laugh." "Your job," Joy interrupted, "is whatever you choose it to be. And you've chosen to be part of a system that keeps people distracted from real problems while making yourself rich in the process. That's not entertainment, Adam. That's exploitation." The words hung in the air like a challenge, and for the first time since the interview began, Adam Sandler's famous smile completely disappeared. Something had shifted in his expression, a hardening around the eyes that suggested Joy Behar had finally pushed too far. "You know what, Joy?" Adam said quietly, his voice carrying a weight that made everyone in the studio lean in slightly. "I think we need to talk about exploitation." The studio fell silent as Adam's words registered. Joy's confident smirk wavered for just a moment, sensing that the dynamic was about to change completely. "Exploitation," Adam repeated, his voice steady but carrying an unmistakable edge. "Since you want to talk about using platforms responsibly, let's examine your track record, Joy. You sit here every day on national television, claiming to speak for women and marginalized communities. But what do you actually do, besides tear people down?" Joy's eyes narrowed. "Excuse me? I've been fighting for progressive causes longer than you've been making movies. Adam, I don't need a lecture from someone who thinks putting on a dress for cheap laughs is peak comedy." "There it is," Adam said, leaning back in his chair with a knowing look. "The condescension. The assumption that you're morally superior to everyone else in the room. You want to talk about harmful representation? Let's talk about how you've spent years representing liberal women as angry, bitter, and judgmental." The other hosts exchanged alarmed glances. This had gone far beyond a typical heated discussion into genuinely dangerous territory. "How dare you?" Joy snapped, her voice rising to a level that made the studio audience visibly uncomfortable. "I represent real women, with real concerns about the direction of this country. Not everyone has the luxury of making jokes while the world burns around them. Real women," Adam repeated thoughtfully. "Tell me, Joy, when was the last time you actually listened to what real women want? Because in my experience, most women, like most people, appreciate being able to laugh. They appreciate entertainment that doesn't lecture them or make them feel guilty for enjoying themselves. That's because they've been conditioned by a patriarchal society to accept substandard content." Joy shot back. "It's internalized misogyny, Adam. These women deserve better than the garbage you're feeding them." Adam shook his head slowly. "Do you hear yourself? You just dismissed the opinions and choices of millions of women because they don't align with your worldview. You're literally saying that women who enjoy my movies are too stupid or too brainwashed to know what's good for them. How is that empowering? I'm saying they deserve content that challenges them intellectually rather than pandering to the lowest common denominator," Joy replied, but there was a defensive note creeping into her voice. "No. You're saying you know better than they do about what they should want, what they should enjoy, what they should think. That's not feminism, Joy. That's elitism disguised as activism." The audience was completely silent now, sensing that they were witnessing something unprecedented. Joy Behar, known for her quick wit and sharp tongue, seemed to be struggling to maintain her usual dominance. "I think," Whoopi finally attempted to interject, "maybe we should move on to discussing Adam's upcoming projects and give everyone a chance to cool down." "No," Joy said sharply, turning briefly to glare at her co-host before refocusing on Adam. "I want to hear more about how the man who made Jack and Jill thinks he understands feminism better than a woman who's been in this business for decades." Adam smiled then, but it wasn't his usual warm, goofy grin. It was something sharper, more calculated. Since you brought up Jack and Jill, let's talk about that. You're right, it wasn't my best work. It was silly. It was over the top. It was exactly what you'd expect from an Adam Sandler movie. But you know what it wasn't? It wasn't mean-spirited. It didn't mock people for their appearance, their beliefs, or their backgrounds. It didn't punch down at anyone. It was 2 hours of a man in drag making offensive jokes, Joy countered. And you've spent the last 20 minutes making offensive comments about my career, my character, and my fans. The difference is, my movie was clearly labeled as comedy. Your behavior is being passed off as journalism. Joy's face was beginning to flush with anger. Don't you dare compare your Hollywood nonsense to legitimate political discourse. I'm holding you accountable for your impact on society. No. You're grandstanding, Adam replied calmly. You're using me as a prop in your ongoing performance as the moral authority of daytime television. You don't actually care about my movies or their impact. You care about demonstrating your intellectual superiority to your audience. That is absolutely ridiculous. Joy sputtered. But her usual composure was clearly cracking. Is it? Then tell me, Joy. What specific scenes in my movies do you find most problematic? Quote me some dialogue that you think is harmful. Give me concrete examples of how my work has damaged society. Joy opened her mouth to respond, then closed it, clearly caught off guard by the direct challenge. You can't, can you? Adam continued. Because you haven't actually watched my movies. You're critiquing an idea of what you think my movies are based on cultural assumptions, and maybe some clips you've seen online. You're literally judging work you haven't experienced firsthand. I don't need to watch every Adam Sandler movie to understand their cultural impact, Joy said, but her voice had lost much of its earlier venom. Actually, if you're going to publicly attack someone's work on national television, yeah, you kind of do. That's called intellectual honesty. Joy. It's the difference between legitimate criticism and character assassination. The tension had shifted dramatically. Where Joy had started the interview as the aggressive prosecutor, she now found herself on the defensive, struggling to maintain her position against Adam's increasingly pointed responses. You know what your real problem is with me? Adam asked, his voice growing quieter but somehow more intense. It's not my movies. It's that I'm successful making content that doesn't fit your narrow definition of worthwhile art. It threatens your narrative that entertainment has to be either politically correct or culturally irrelevant. Joy's hands were visibly trembling now, whether from anger or something else entirely. My problem with you is that you waste talent and opportunity, while real artists struggle to get their meaningful work seen. And there it is, Adam said with a sad shake of his head. The real Joy Behar worldview. Success without your approval is illegitimate. Joy without your permission is wasteful. You've appointed yourself the gatekeeper of what entertainment should be, and anyone who succeeds outside your parameters must be torn down. Joy's eyes flashed with something dangerous as Adam's words hit their mark. The careful veneer of television professionalism she'd maintained for decades was crumbling in real time. You think you're so clever, don't you? She said, her voice now carrying a bitter edge that made everyone in the studio uncomfortable. Coming in here with your fake, humble act, pretending to be just a regular guy who wants to make people laugh. But I see right through it. Adam. What exactly do you see, Joy? Adam asked, genuinely curious now about where she was heading. I see a privileged white male who's built a career on mediocrity and is now lecturing me about integrity. You've coasted on nepotism and industry connections, while actual talented people, women, people of color, have been shut out. And you have the audacity to sit there and act like you've earned your success through merit. The accusation hung in the air like a toxic cloud. Even the other hosts looked shocked at how personal and ugly Joy's attack had become. Adam's expression hardened completely. Joy, I think you need to be very careful about what you say next. You're making accusations about my character and my career that are not only false, but potentially damaging. Oh. Am I making you uncomfortable? Joy sneered. Good. Maybe you'll think twice before coming on national television and attacking women who actually care about making a difference in the world. I haven't attacked you, Joy. I've responded to your attacks on me with facts and observations about your behavior. But if you want to make this personal, let's talk about your career. Let's talk about how you've built your brand on being the angry liberal woman who tears people down for not meeting your impossible standards. How dare you, Joy spat, her face now noticeably red. I have spent my entire career fighting for progressive values, for women's rights, for social justice. What have you done besides make money off juvenile humor? I've made millions of people happy, Adam replied simply. I've given families something to enjoy together. I've provided work for hundreds of actors, writers, and crew members. I've donated quietly to charities without making it part of my public image. But most importantly, I've never used my platform to personally destroy people who disagree with me. You're destroying society with your mindless content, Joy shot back. But her voice was becoming shrill now. Desperate. No, Joy. You're destroying discourse with your toxic approach to disagreement. You can't handle the fact that someone just challenged your behavior, so you're escalating to personal attacks and unfounded accusations. This is exactly why people are tired of this kind of politics. Joy stood up abruptly from her chair, her movement so sudden that it startled the entire panel. I don't have to sit here and be lectured by someone who thinks Saturday Night Live reject sketches are high art. Nobody's making you stay, Adam said quietly, but his words carried clearly through the studio's sudden silence. What did you just say to me? Joy demanded, her voice rising to a near shout. I said nobody's making you stay. You're choosing to be here, just like you're choosing to behave this way. You're choosing to attack me personally, because you can't defend your position intellectually. You arrogant piece of trash, Joy exploded, completely losing control now. Who do you think you are coming into my house and disrespecting me like this? The audience gasped audibly. Sunny Hostin covered her mouth in shock. Sarah Haynes looked like she wanted to disappear into her chair. Even Whoopi, who had seen plenty of heated moments on the show, looked stunned by Joy's complete meltdown. Your house? Adam repeated, raising an eyebrow. This is a television studio, Joy, not your personal kingdom. And respect is earned through behavior, not demanded through position. That's it, Joy screamed, her voice cracking with rage. I'm done with this. I'm done with you. I'm done with this conversation. I'm done with pretending that people like you deserve a platform. She began fumbling with her microphone, her hands shaking with anger as she tried to remove it. Joy, please, Whoopi finally managed to interject. Let's just take a commercial break, and everyone can cool down. No, Joy snapped at her co-host. I'm not taking a commercial break. I'm not cooling down. I'm leaving. I will not sit here and be insulted by this Hollywood hack who thinks he's better than everyone else. I never said I was better than anyone, Adam said calmly, watching Joy's frantic attempts to free herself from her microphone. But I also won't sit here and be your punching bag while you work through whatever personal issues are driving this hostility. Personal issues? Joy whirled around to face him, her microphone still half attached, and creating feedback through the studio speakers. You think this is about personal issues? This is about principles. Adam, this is about caring about something more than box office, receipts, and celebrity status. This is about you being unable to handle someone disagreeing with you without having a complete emotional breakdown. Adam replied. And honestly, it's pretty sad to watch. Crom. That was the final straw. Joy yanked the microphone completely off, threw it down on the table where it landed with a loud thud, and pointed an accusatory finger at Adam. You know what? Fine. You win, Adam. You've successfully destroyed what should have been a simple interview about your latest forgettable movie. I hope you're proud of yourself. I hope your fans enjoy watching you bully a woman on national television. The only person bullying anyone here is you, Joy, Adam said, his voice remaining frustratingly calm in the face of her hysteria. "You started this by attacking my work, my character, and my fans. I simply defended myself. Whatever helps you sleep at night," Joy snarled, grabbing her notes from the table and storming toward the exit. "I'm done with this show. I'm done with this network that thinks giving platforms to people like you is acceptable journalism." As Joy reached the edge of the set, she turned back one final time, her face contorted with rage. "You want to know what exploitation really looks like, Adam? It's you exploiting the goodwill of decent people who think you're just a harmless entertainer while you spread your toxic masculinity and backwards values to their children." Adam shook his head sadly. "Goodbye, Joy. I hope you find whatever you're really looking for, because it clearly isn't in this studio." With that, Joy Behar stormed off the set of The View, leaving behind a stunned studio, a traumatized panel of co-hosts, and an audience that had just witnessed one of the most shocking meltdowns in daytime television history. The camera lingered on Adam Sandler, who sat quietly in his chair, looking more disappointed than victorious, as the reality of what had just happened settled over everyone in the room. The silence stretched on for what felt like an eternity, broken only by the sound of Joy's heels clicking angrily down the hallway as she made her exit from not just the interview, but apparently from the show entirely. That's the story of how Adam Sandler's quiet dignity and measured responses completely dismantled Joy Behar's carefully constructed television persona, exposing the toxic behavior that had been hiding behind years of political rhetoric and moral grandstanding. What did you think of Adam's handling of this situation? Was he right to stand his ground, or should he have taken a different approach? Let me know in the comments below.